Alright guys, here we are in Expedition 33. Believe we've gotten all the features unlocked here. FrameGen gave me some issues before, but we're going to see if this works. Here's our graphics settings. Start off really quick. Epic preset. We are going to start the scaling mode in quality. And then FrameGen should be on the new preset, preset B, once we load in. But here are the settings. Like I said, everything on Epic. But that's about it. That's all I got for the settings here. Let's just get right into it. Alright, we're finally back in. Alright, so off camera, did a couple restarts. Realized one really important thing. Preset B is not working with this game. Expedition 33 will not boot up with preset B on the FG override. As you can see on the overlay, preset A is engaged and we have 6x. We do have 6x multiplier for the frame generation, DLSS 4.5 implemented into the game. But if you try to implement the new preset B with the 6x fixed MFG, the game will not boot. So hopefully we get that fixed. So we're not going to have the enhanced preset, unfortunately, in this video. There we go. Okay. So when I booted up the game previously and it was only doing ×4, we were getting about 180. It does say 6x. 210, 264. Oh, absolutely. Okay. So 6x is working. All right. So here we are. Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, Game of the Year. You guys all know it. With this 6x implementation, we're going to see how it goes. So far, so good. We're getting over 200 FPS, and the experience is largely the same as 4x.
What will you do when this is all over?
Yeah. I'm not sure I can live in it.
Well, since we mere mortals can't leave this canvas, so I can see.
Probably shouldn't have the mod on, but I just can't help it.
A painting inside this.
Yeah, we're getting well over 200 FPS. I believe about, with 4x on quality, you're getting around, it was like about 170, 180, but we're easily clearing 200 here. Image quality wise, looks basically the same as 4x. If you've got a 240 Hz monitor, go ahead and throw on 6x. I'm going to go into some combat to see how that latency feels, because we are at 65, but again on a controller, this feels perfectly fine. If you're okay with, you know, 2x to 4x frame gen, you're not going to lose anything. Okay, so if you guys can notice, yeah, so you see the UI right there? That is jaggy and jiggling like a stripper. So, and I think, so this concern and issue, it'd be so nice if we got that preset B. So preset A and preset B for FG override, as you can see, once again it says preset A, right? I've tried to boot the game with preset B. Preset B addresses a lot of these issues here, so it's going to fix a lot of the UI kind of glitching and ghosting that you see here. That is really distracting. I don't see too much on the pause menu here, but right there you could definitely see with the button prompts coming up, it's warping and really distracting, really annoying. I could probably ignore that, but that's definitely going to hurt the experience, especially on a first time playthrough. The frames are great, the latency is great, but on preset A, that's a huge issue that I did not see it 4 times. So that's where that preset B comes in. Unfortunately, like I said, the game won't boot on preset B. I'm sure that we'll get a fix to that sometime soon. Latency is perfectly fine. It's actually a lot better. The camp is the most intensive part of the game. Yeah, even diving into water like that, that looked pretty good. I mean, there's artifacting for sure. Ghosting and things of that nature. And definitely on the compass, Again, you can definitely see warping with that UI. Again, I think preset B is going to really help with that. So there's definitely a lot of compromise you got to make with 6x. We're gonna try we'll try 5x. We'll try some dynamic, but let's find some combat here really quick first. All right, so here we are out in the open here in an actual zone. Gotta say, it looks pretty damn great, man. There's ghosting around the hair for sure. It's the same old story. If you're used to 4x frame gen, you're gonna be used to this. It's not magic it's not magic at all. It's not gonna fix any of that ghosting and whatnot. But you're getting over 200 frames. That is true. All right, let's take a look at combat really quick. Let's take a look at the character model. Just from here, from Lune's hair, if you take a look at her hair, man, it does look pretty good. It looks pretty good. The weapon up top and the UI in battle doesn't look crazy. It looks 4K. The text is good. Clarity's good. UI on the left side. The turn markers look good. Can't complain here. Alright, here's my L. Okay, yeah, there's so the transition between when you hit triangle from the for items, there's huge ghosting. Huge amount of ghosting. And guys, I played what, almost 80 hours of this game. That was not there with 4X. Oof, that is rough. Already I'm thinking, okay, we definitely don't want to use 6X. It's a little bit too much here. Maybe DLAA will clean that up. I don't know. We'll give it a try. But that's rough. Yeah, that doesn't look good. I think that pretty much invalidates it right there. And here you can see right here, her hair is a pixelated mess. And when you move, you can see all the ghosting and everything. And we're not, you know what it is? It's probably, as you can see, we're barely hitting 200 FPS. We're really struggling to hit 200 FPS at 6X. Sometimes in motion it looks pretty good, but unfortunately it does break down a lot. Man, yeah, that's not great at all. Yeah, when there's not a lot of motion, it looks great, guys. But as soon as you start moving quickly, the camera shifts in a very dynamic way, breaks down really quick, guys, really quick. You can definitely play like this, though. Let me see if I can parry. Oh, never mind. I'm just kind of playing like normal to try to just get a feel for things. Shoot, I'm trash. That parry was very easy. It wasn't hard. I wasn't ready for that first attack, but feels good.
Ready to parry. Let's dance. Void, take everything.
Might be a skill issue. I'm gonna say it's a skill issue. Yeah, I mean, just playing regularly, this doesn't feel bad at all. Yeah, it becomes a pixelated mess as soon as you kind of move the camera. It's if you go again, it kind of feels a lot like Stellar Blade, another UE game, another Unreal Engine game. When you're moving straight ahead, it feels good. As soon as you start moving the camera left or right, laterally, or even up and down, that's when you start seeing that ghosting and the character models kind of break down a bit. It does look pretty damn great. The motion is awesome. But yeah, I think it just boils down to the fact that we're not getting 200 FPS at all times. So with that fact, I don't think that DLAA is going to help. I'm really curious to see if maybe performance can save us here.
You're outmatched.
Man, I'm trash.
Lasso, dodge.
Yeah, my pairing is really a skill issue for sure. I wouldn't blame the frame gen on my misses. Been a minute since I played this.
Take down their shields.
Alright, so in conclusion, I think that 6x at the quality setting, you know, oh man, this looks so good. Ooh, in a dark setting, this looks really good, guys. Wow, I'm actually pretty amazed by this scene specifically. Let me get back to that conclusion in a second. Look how dark that is. Wow. Take this in for a second. Holy. That enhanced frame rate, that's where frame gen really shines, right here. In a dark scene right here, you can't see a lot of the jagginess because it's so dark here. And peering out into the light with that 240 FPS with 46 milliseconds of input lag, which is, you're not going to notice that. Wow. Wow, after seeing that, I mean, I'd still have to say this is probably a no-go in general. At least 6x. I think dynamic frame gen is gonna have is gonna be the play here. That's my prediction here. I'm seeing here on quality, it's just not enough to get, especially in battle, to get that 200 FPS you need. But it doesn't look awful. It's just a lot of ghosting, especially when you're switching in battle. Let's give some other options a try here. Alright, I did a little reset because I wanted to make sure that preset M was in there. I had the right super resolution override. Looks like we do have it. So here we are, performance. And you guys can see that 6x is on there. On the overlay, we have preset A engaged. So this is performance DLSS. Hitting over 240 all the time. This is the DLSS. This is the DLSS mode that I use to play for most of my playthrough. Over time, I definitely moved over to quality to kind of tweak some things. But again, this is epic. Everything's at max. You can kind of adjust your settings a bit. Character model looks really good. On first look, it kind of seems like there's less of that ghosting. Moving like this, I mean, it's obviously still there. It's 6x frame gen, but this looks better. Looks better for the frame gen at least than with quality DLSS. And upscaling this game from 1080p to 4K, it's not bad at all. Let me go back to that section that I was really impressed with. I think that's a really good spot to check out and just kind of compare from quality. If I can get back up there, which I should be able to. Alright, so let's see. Man, I think that getting over 240 FPS with 6x frame gen is the play here. You need it. Alright, I will say it's a little bit softer. I think the leaves here are a little bit softer than quality. If I'm not looking for it, I wouldn't tell. This is still a stunning image. And again, you can't, you know what, 270 compared to, what was it, 220, 230 on quality? Maybe more or less. But getting over 200 FPS on that scene, I mean, it has to be seen to be believed. Obviously on a YouTube video or on any video you're going to watch, it's going to be compressed and it's only 60 FPS. But yeah, still that ghosting is there. Let's try and get into combat and see if that transition from the back to the front of the character is just as pronounced. Alright, let's take a look at Sael. that transition's a lot better. There's not nearly as much ghosting. It's still there, but not as noticeable. And this game has a specific type of art style. As you can see, there's like a grainy kind of a architecture to the characters. That's, you know, it's a stylistic aspect of Expedition 33, which people really like, that watercolor look. So I think that's kind of adding to the ghosting here, and it's there. It's absolutely there at 6x. So I'm wondering maybe 5x will get rid of a lot of that. Hopefully, not a lot, but some of it. Yeah, this is definitely an improvement. I mean, I love the way that Maya looks here. Her hair looks really good. And we're clearing 200 FPS. As you remember, with quality, we were getting 188, 198, I'd probably say. So about an average, like 190, 195. But here we're clearing over 200. I think this is working out pretty damn well. I would say this is a win for 6x for sure. It might not be the preferred way for a lot of people. Definitely an acquired taste, but it's definitely an option. 6x performance, not too bad. And throw on ultra performance. Yeah, the ghosting did get worse. I think once you're at over 300 FPS, it's huge diminishing returns. Here we are back at that scene. Yeah, the softness is still there. The detail on the grass here is just not as good. And nowhere does there exist a 4K 360 hertz monitor, so this setting is pretty null and void. I mean, hey, you know, maybe they'll come out with a $2,000 4K 360 hertz monitor. And if you're in the market for that, then definitely sub to the channel and think about supporting the channel. Appreciate that. Anyway, let's give DLAA a try. Massive latency. Yeah, this is just not playable. Game does look better. Absolutely. Oh yeah. Yeah, even in here you can see it's much sharper. It's not softer. The detail on that grass is much improved. And it's, I mean, it's at the FG is implemented at 168 frames. A lot of fake frames here, but I don't even want to get into combat with this. This is just not playable. 5090 bros, you're good. Oh my gosh, the ghosting. Okay, that's already hurt my eyes. Let's turn that shit off. I think the clear winners here are quality or performance. I think that quality institutes too much ghosting, mostly because we're at a base FPS of 36. That's mainly why. I think performance strikes the best balance at this setting. But performance is definitely what I would probably go for. And even at 46, 48, it's a little bit on the lower side. Ultra performance, you're definitely going to be upscaling from a much higher FPS. Or, well, it's downscaling your FPS, and then it's going to upscale it to, you know, 300 FPS. But I think this is probably the best option. But we still do have that 5x option. So I'm going to restart the game, throw on some 5x. And we're going to see what we get here. Alright, we're back in Expedition 33. 5x is engaged. Alright, let's take a look. Let's take a look. I gotta say, guys, I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm seeing. Much less ghosting. I'm curious to see what combat looks like. Let's head over to our beautiful, beautiful spot that we can take a look at the image quality here. I like using this one. Let's take a look at someone with some more hair. Yeah, here we go. Alright, so there's definitely some ghosting still, obviously. It comes off, but that's, you're gonna see that with ×4. I say it every time. Every time. You're gonna see that shimmering. It's gonna be there. The game naturally just kind of has that. But here we're at ×5. We're getting well over 200. I think this is the perfect amount for this GPU. As you can see, we're fluctuating in between 230 and 250. Trying to hit that 240 mark. This looks absolutely amazing. Preset K is on, so we're at quality DLSS. That looks awesome. Absolutely awesome. Our FPS once again is at like about 40, the baseline, 40 to 47. It touched 50 for a second. It's not awesome, but it's not bad. It's definitely not bad. Definitely doable. Definitely doable, especially with latency clocking in at about mid 40s. On that latency meter, input lag feels good. Obviously, we're going from 5 to 6, so it's pretty much not gonna change too much. I don't think we're going to see much of a difference, but I do think that the image quality is slightly improved over 6X. I don't think 6X is needed with this kind of card. Look, the lowest we're getting is 195. I think 200 FPS, once again, anything at 4 times frame gen or over, you want to hit that 200 FPS mark. That is your goal to hit. And you're going to see some good stuff. I mean, look at this, guys. Especially with the foliage at ×5, I'm not really seeing any ghosting. I'm not seeing a lot of the issues I saw with Hogwarts Legacy. I'm really liking this. I'm actually really liking this. If you're looking for it, we have the longer hairstyle on Sayal. This is a good hairstyle to kind of test this. There is a ton of shimmering. Is it game breaking? Is it immersion breaking? To me, to my eye, it's not. I'm really enjoying the extra frames that we get. But this would absolutely bother another gamer. If that's something that irks you, I can totally get that. If that's you, I would just turn off frame gen. Maybe 2 times maximum. 2 times maximum. Let's see if we can get back into combat. We're back in the beginning of the level. We did a little circle. That 200 FPS in combat. Combat's a little bit more intensive. Our latency is a bit high. That ghosting is still there. Transitioning from items. Yeah, it's definitely there. But again, we're on quality, so if we give performance a try. Maybe performance DLSS will give us what we need. I would say combat wasn't amazing, even with 5x frame gen. Pretty much looks similar to 6x. But I would say when you're not in combat and you're getting that 200 plus, this is super doable. And the visuals of this game, it's a turn-based game. It's very odd. It's very odd. A turn-based game like this, you would think, 60 FPS. You know, why would you ever need 200? But whatever it is, the way this game looks, getting that extra frame rate with the with the subtle movements of the environment, the way the characters move, the extra frames that you get. And obviously you'd prefer more native frames. If you can get, 4K 240 FPS without frame gen, that would be preferable, of course. But fake frames or real frames, this game looks absolutely stunning when it's at a high frame rate. When you're actually playing it in the battles, obviously not needed. 60 FPS is going to do the job. But if you're in it for image quality, image fidelity, the high FPS that you get with frame gen that you wouldn't get otherwise, it definitely enhances the experience. At least for me, it absolutely does. It absolutely does. All right. Performance. DLSS upscaled from 1080p to 4K. We are at the preset M. And now we're sitting at 200 FPS we hit upwards of, but we're not quite getting there on average. We're about capping out at 200 FPS in battle, but definitely improved. And in this game, I mean, performance and quality is hard to tell the difference. If you guys can tell the difference, let me know, because my eyes can't see much of a difference. Latency feels good, mid 50s, upwards of 60. This game requires some precision, so the latency is important, but on a controller, I don't really feel too much of an issue to hit my targets. Perfect, perfect. You can adjust quite quickly. Especially if you know how to play the game, you can adjust very quickly. It's not too difficult. The animations in this game are just so good looking. So you want that silky smooth movement. Let's take a look really quick before we kill this enemy. Yeah, the model looks great, especially in this scene. Get close to the hair. Yeah, there's shimmering. If you move quick, there's shimmering. But I mean, the image is good. I wouldn't say it's sharp. It's a little bit soft, but it looks good. Some of the strands on the hair, especially at the, you know, where her cheek is, where Miles' cheek is, and up to the cheekbone, those strands are really alias in a way that's kind of shimmery and not great. But at least for me, I can overlook it, because you're just getting that smoothness. Fake smoothness, but smoothness either way. It's all what you can put up with, guys. I think a lot of this is personal preference. Again, this feature for FrameGen, I would be suggesting it for single player experiences. Under no circumstances would I ever tell anyone to use 6x or 5x FrameGen in some sort of high-paced shooting game or competitive environment fighting game. Absolutely not. Once we get that UI fix, we need that preset B in there. I think I'm ready for some dynamic FrameGen. I want to see some dynamic FrameGen to see what this game does with that, and see if it can transition between the different FrameGen iterations. Between I'm assuming it's going to go between 4, 5. It might hit 6, but probably between 4 and 5, I would say. Back in Expedition 33, dynamic FrameGen is on. It is on. We are sitting at a dynamic 6. Hasn't moved. Yeah, this looks just about 6x. We're at quality DLSS. Oof, oof, oof. Ooh, the image is breaking down. I didn't like that. I definitely didn't like that. Alright, before we get into combat, let's go up here. Dynamic 5 now. Dynamic 6. I thought we would be going between a dynamic 4 and a dynamic 5. But it's looking like we need the full 6. Alright, so in a dark area here we are with dynamic 5. My setting here, I have a custom FPS setting to 240, so FrameGen is always taking a look at my GPU resources and trying to determine what kind of FrameGen is required to hit close to that 240 at all times. So let me try going back in here. It looks like this area here, yeah, inside in the dark area, boom, dynamic 5, obviously left to render. As soon as we go out into the light, it's probably going to go to dynamic 6, boom. Turned over there, dynamic 6, go back in here. See our beautiful landscape, or at least from inside our cave here. I mean, it looks fantastic. It looks fantastic, and we're hitting to 240. We're hitting the 240 FPS most of the time. You know, in between that 220 and 250. The system's doing its best to hit that with the dynamic frame frame implementation. Let's try some combat. Let's see how it goes. It should be staying at a dynamic 6 most of the time. I assume it's not going to drop from the dynamic 5 since combat is more demanding. I'm seeing a lot of shaking of the UI. Yeah, the same issues we saw with just fixed dynamic. I mean, essentially we're at a fixed dynamic right now, nothing different than what we saw earlier. This seems pretty cut and dry. I didn't like dynamic 6, or excuse me, fixed 6. And I definitely don't like this any more or any less because we're not moving. Latency's fine. I mean, it's kind of spiking up and down all around the place, but actually feeling it, it doesn't feel bad. I'm able to hit all my QTEs. No problems with that. Let me actually get another turn here. Why not? Damn, we got so many turns. We didn't let them go. Alright, I mean, nothing much to see here. I don't really like the image quality. There's just a lot more ghosting than with dynamic 5 when you're on, or excuse me, when you're on a fixed 5. There's a lot more ghosting, just enough to where it's super distracting. I can tell the difference between dynamic 5 or fixed 5 and a fixed 6. So the fact that this game requires pretty much 6 almost all the time, it's not great. Let's see if we can get this to be... Let's see if we can get... There we go. See that? Dynamic 4, dynamic 5. That's what I want to see. Dynamic 6x frame gen in this game, not great. Bam. Dynamic 4. Now we're going from 4 to 5. This could be it, guys. This could absolutely be it. Because now we're not always at that 5x frame gen. So we can kind of bring it down to 4x whenever the scene demands it. Okay, we're at dynamic 6 now. Interesting. So we went between 4 and 6. This scene's pretty intensive. Back to 5. And since I already prefer performance with the preset M, I'd definitely rather use this. Let's go try a different area and see if we can find something where maybe it's a little bit less demanding, and we can see that dynamic 4 come in a little bit more often. It's a demanding game, but again, we're on epic settings. We could absolutely optimize this game a little bit more if I was so inclined. In the open world, in the overworld, we're at dynamic 5, dynamic 4. So we're hitting over 200. There we are. But in combat, it's just really hard for us to hit 240 all the time. Maybe if I changed it to 200, that would improve it. I think I might actually do that with this game. Because it's having such a hard time staying between 4 and 5 dynamic with the FPS target at 240 with this GPU, I think I would probably set it to maybe like 220 maybe. You can play around with it. That's the best thing about dynamic frame gen, is that you can play around with it. You can figure out what settings you want. If you don't want frame gen, don't use it. If you want frame gen, you've got lots of options. There's some flickering on the ground. There's some glitching. You see that? Notice that. There's some weirdness going on in the overworld here. You're in a zone. I think the game shines a lot. By no means does it look bad. It doesn't look bad to my eye. I mean, hell, it's still 4K, am I right? Or upscaled 4K. Let's go back into the NVIDIA app and change the custom FPS that it's trying to hit. Let's see if we just we'll try 200 FPS. Let's try that. Now we're at dynamic 5. It may shift over to 6x, but definitely looking good. Definitely looking good. There's dynamic 4. And you can adjust this. So if you don't like dynamic 5, you can make it so it goes only up to dynamic 4. You could change the FPS counter or the FPS target. So you can tailor your frame gen experience to however you want. You don't even have to go into the setting and just go back and forth. I can't tell you how many times I've gone and set 2x and 4x. I usually don't use 3x, but with this dynamic setting, I'll definitely allow it to go up and down and in between. The NVIDIA app, you know, when it works properly, will do it for you. And look, now we're at dynamic 3. There's flickering. Yeah, this is frame gen. This is the frame gen experience. You're gonna get pop in. You're gonna get a lot of ghosting and all that. That's just par for the course. But if you don't mind that, if you're just looking at SKA right here, I mean, this looks great. With the, look at this dynamic 3. So this is 3 times frame gen. You're not really getting a lot of ghosting that you would get with 6x frame gen. Obviously, it's half the frames that it's trying to AI generate. But here we are, in battle, dynamic 4, awesome, amazing. So much less ghosting when going from the item menu. This is much better, much better. Dynamic 5, you see the ghosting. With 4, you don't. But this is what I'm talking about, guys. You can tailor your experience to what you want. But the fact that it's available, I think dynamic frame gen is going to be so much more important than the fixed modes that we've had before. I think dynamic frame gen gives you a lot of optionality. You can change it to only go up to 4x if you'd like. You could change it to only go up to 2x. I think a lot of people would agree in single player games, 2x frame gen in a lot of systems, especially in 50 series graphics cards. It's not very oppressive. It's not obtuse. It's not the worst thing in the world. Some people, they just never want to turn on frame gen. That is perfectly fine. But I would say if you want just a little bit of frame gen every once in a while, you can turn on some dynamic frame gen, flip on 2x, especially if you've got something like a 144 hertz monitor, 165 hertz monitor. If you've got a 1440p monitor, you're not pushing 240 frames. You could use some dynamic frame gen, just throw on 2, maybe 3. And if you're feeling spicy, throw on 4. And you could be good to go. I think 5 and 6x, it's a very niche option for people with, let's say, 5070 Ti's and up with 4K 240 hertz monitors. It's a very niche customer right there. But options, guys, I'm always a proponent of options. Always a big proponent of options. Now, you want it to hit a certain cap on your monitor. You don't need the extra frames. Now you can set it. Now you can set it and get what you want. You can set it to 165 hertz. You can set it to 120. There's a lot of people with 4K 120 hertz televisions. Really nice OLED screens. You know, massive TVs that they hook their PCs up. There's people like that. You can see here that we're actually struggling to get to 200 FPS. I'm not sure if it's because it's kind of on the slow side, because it was staying at dynamic 3, so it responded now and decided, okay, I need more frames. So now it's at dynamic 4. Now we're at over 200. It takes a bit for the system to respond to the demanding scenes. It'll sit below your frame rate target for a hot second, but it will update eventually. See in here, 186, 198, we're at dynamic 3. But out here, see that? We're at 170. Bam, there we go. Responded pretty quick there, dynamic 4. There it is. I think my review and my overview of this would be, I've never been up there. My review of this would be to use dynamic frame gen and try to tweak your settings to try to get it to do dynamic 3 or 4. As you can see here, we're in dynamic 5. I'd probably have to tweak my settings a bit more, possibly lower some settings a bit. I'd probably go into the graphic settings, lower some settings, see if I can consistently get dynamic 3 and 4, because I think 5 is good, but it's a little bit much on the ghosting, especially when 4X looks so good like this and you're getting over 200 FPS frame gen that you're using. So 5 and 6 are definitely useful in niche situations if you need to brute force your way to get to a higher frame rate. But if you can, just use dynamic frame gen. That's the setting I think that is going to be useful for most people. That's my review. Alright guys, I appreciate you coming through. Don't forget to drop a like, and if you can please subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing more of these benchmark reviews. I'm going to be live as well. I do playthroughs, Japanese RPGs and the such. I play sometimes I play a variety of games, but I would love to see you guys in the live stream. We are building up here on YouTube. But once again, appreciate you guys coming through, and have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of the scenery. This game is absolutely amazing. Pick it up.